Good morning, everyone. Today I want to talk about processed foods. And about 80 to 90% of the food that we eat is processed. I don't want you to get discouraged. I just want to give you information so that you will be informed to make better choices. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the refinement process that a lot of our foods go through. You have your wheat, your rice, and your pasta, and sugar. All these things go through a refinement process where they strip all the nutrition out of it and you're left with a white product. Whereas wheat is normally whole, it is brown, and then they strip it down to white bread. Your brown rice is stripped down to white rice, and then you have the pasta, which comes from the whole wheat. It's just turned into white wheat and then made into pasta. And then you have the sugar that is taken from the raw form and stripped down to even more refined sugar, white sugar. In this refinement process, I want to talk first mostly about the wheat. You know, wheat is used to make bread, to make pasta, our rolls, tortillas, donuts, cakes, cookies, everything pretty much. Bread is in a lot of things. And first of all, what they do is they strip the outer covering off of it, the bran that has a lot of nutrition in it. And there's also the wheat germ, that has where we get wheat germ oil from. Wheat germ is essentially vitamin E. And then you're left with just the endosperm, or the white, starchy, sugary part that has the gluten in it. And so once they refine it and strip all the nutrition out of it, that's what you're mainly left with, is a white, refined, starchy gluten. And that's the reason why people have a lot of problems with gluten, is not that gluten in itself is bad, but you're putting so much of just gluten in because they strip everything else out of it, that's all that you're left with. And so your body's like, okay, this is just too much gluten, I've had enough. And so you begin to get intolerant to it and have allergic reactions and problems to it. But when people who have problems with gluten eat it in the whole wheat form with the bran and the germ and everything that goes together with it in its whole state, they don't have a problem with the gluten. And so when we start isolating things and breaking them apart from the rest of it that God put it in to make it whole the way it naturally comes, then we do start having problems. You see things isolated all the time, and that is a process that is not a whole food anymore. The wheat refinement process, basically when they strip all the nutrition out of it, the reason that they do that is because they are wanting this product to last. They want to be able to put it on the shelf where it will last a long time, and they it won't go bad, because if it's whole and it's got all the nutrition, it's alive and it's going to go bad quicker. And so this is a business reason, why they would strip the nutrition out of it. Now you'll see a lot of times on bread where they will put enriched on it. You'll see that on bread, or you'll see it on flour a lot. And what they've done is, because they stripped all the nutrition out of it, they stripped all these vitamins and minerals out, so they add back some minerals to it, just a few. If someone stole $50 out of your wallet and they gave you $5 back, would you feel enriched? No, you would feel robbed. And that's exactly what they've done. If they've robbed all the nutrition out of it, they add back just a little bit, and we're supposed to feel enriched. So out of all those vitamins and minerals, they only add a few back, and you'll see that on cereal and things like that. So the other thing is that you'll see sometimes is fortified with something. Fortified means that they added something to it that wasn't naturally there, like they add calcium to orange juice. Calcium's not naturally in orange juice, so when something's fortified, they add something to it that wasn't there before. They enrich it, they add something back that they took out. The cornmeal. Cornmeal is also something, when you look at buying cornmeal, you want to look for the ones that do not say degerminated on it. You want the ones that are germinated, that still have the germ in it. G-E-R-M, the germ. And you don't want to get the ones that say degerminated. I had a hard time finding ones that did not say degerminated. Most all of them did say degerminated. There was one that didn't. And I don't know that it wasn't degerminated, but it didn't say that it had been. I want to talk about ingredients. Ingredients, how to read the labels on things, ingredient labels. The outer label that you see is all the advertisement. That's just their way of marketing it, selling it to you. What you want to look at is the ingredients. I don't believe there's any regulation on what they put on the label, if it has to be truthful or not. They are regulated on the ingredient part, but the label, that is just their advertisement to you. That's what they're trying to sell you on, and I don't even know that it's regulated to where they have to be honest about that, because a lot of that is very deceptive. So when you're looking at the ingredient label, there's three things that you mainly want to look at. Number one is you want to see how many ingredients are on the list. If the more ingredients, the less healthy it is for you. The less ingredients, the better. The more whole it is, the more nutritious it is. And that's true even when you're in your own home doing homemade. The less ingredients that you put in there, the better that it will be. The easier it will be on your digestive system and on your wallet and in your time in the kitchen. So the less ingredients, the better. Number two is you want to make sure that it is pronounceable, that you can pronounce those ingredients. If you can't pronounce them, they're probably chemicals and preservatives that they've added to it, and so it's not going to be a very natural food or very good for you. And the third thing is the order that they list the ingredients is the order of how much of that ingredient is in the product. So the very first thing on the list is going to be the main ingredient. That is what it mostly consists of. And the last thing is going to be like hardly any of that in there. And so you want to look at those first three ingredients as pretty much the bulk of what is in that product. Also, to go back real quickly to the refined foods, those refined foods that have been stripped of all their nutritional value, taken down to just white bread or white pasta or white rice, all this refining, it causes obesity, it causes heart disease, it causes diabetes. So you want to get the whole nutrition of the product, the whole wheat. There are three of what I believe are the top three deadliest chemicals and food additives that they put in our food. Number one is monosodium glutamate, or otherwise known as MSG, but usually on the ingredient list it's going to say monosodium glutamate. And this is something that I don't even know how it makes its way onto the shelves. I don't know how it's not outlawed. It is so bad for you. It's a flavor enhancer is what it is. So they put this in the product to get you addicted to it, to keep you coming back for more. And not just in the foods at the grocery store, but in the restaurants as well. And it just makes it taste so good, like super good, to where you can't get enough. You're never satisfied. It causes you to be fat, it causes you to be sick, it causes headaches, and it causes you to be hungry. So you're fat and you're hungry because you're never getting enough, you're never getting satisfied. And so the whole design of it was meant for them to keep you coming back for more. You know, it's an addiction, and if you can get someone hooked on something, then you have a customer for life. And it's the same way that they did with nicotine. And that's what they basically are doing with our food. They're putting these additives in there to increase their sales, to keep us coming back for more, and it is not healthy for us at all. So that's monosodium glutamate, and I'm going to list some products that these additives are in, but the next two are, the second one is high fructose corn syrup. Now, high fructose corn syrup is hardly corn anymore. It has completely been stripped of everything and been so chemically changed that it is no longer anything that resembles corn. It is a drug. All of these are drugs. And you know, when you talk about processing, if I take an apple and I cut it up, you know, I processed it, but all I really did is change its shape. So, you know, not all processing is bad, but when you take a product and you go from a point where it is no longer resembles the product at all, it's no longer a food anymore, it's completely been changed chemically, then you have a real problem. And these foods are drugs, and they cause a lot of problems. The third one is aspartame. And aspartame is a chemical sweetener, and they put it in a lot of products. And I'm going to go through and tell you what all these products are in. MSG is in your almost 90% of your canned soup. Now, there are some that it's not in. But just go through your grocery store and look on the shelves for yourself the next time you're in there, and look at the ingredient list and make notes and see, you know, the things you buy all the time. Look and see what is in there. About 90% of the canned soup has monosodium glutamate. All of your chicken stock, vegetable stock, beef stock, almost all of them have monosodium glutamate. All your bouillon, chicken and beef bouillon, have monosodium glutamate. I picked up a can of refried beans one time, had MSG in it, monosodium glutamate. I picked up a can of peanuts one time just to see, and I was just thinking, because I was looking for raw ones that didn't have any salt or oil, and I expected them to have salt and oil, but I looked at one of them, and it actually said it had MSG on peanuts. Now, why do we need that? Why do we need MSG on peanuts? And one other thing to tell you is not every single flavor will have these items in it. You might find a brand that does have it in one of their items or one of their flavors, and another flavor it won't have it. So you have to look at every single item you pick up, not just go by the brand. You actually have to look at each individual item. And and then also any of your your sauces or gravies or any kind of flavorings usually have monosodium glutamate because it's a flavor enhancer. So the next time you're in the store, you want to look at all that, you want to look at your ingredients. Monosodium glutamate is one of the worst things you can put in your body. Within 16 seconds of it being ingested, brain cells start to explode. And I don't know about you, but I need all of my brain cells. And MSG is deadly. It is a deadly drug. And like I said, a lot of the restaurants use this. You know, like say for instance, you go to the restaurant and you get broccoli, and that broccoli tastes so good. Now don't get me wrong, broccoli should taste good. It's good for us and it should taste good. But it shouldn't taste so good that you just cannot stop eating it. You just eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it, eat it, and you just can't stop eating it, and you never feel satisfied. That's not supposed to be the way that it works. And you can get too much of a good thing. And plus you'd run out of money by the time you got finished, you know, got full. And it's just not supposed to work that way. So when you keep eating, and the more you eat, the hungrier you get, that you can tell that's an addictive food. You can tell which of these foods have this in there by the way that it makes you feel. You get a headache afterwards, or you just don't feel satiated, satisfied, then it's likely that it has been laced with some chemical. And it's really sad. It really is. That companies would, you know, I mean, I can understand wanting to increase sales, but, you know, to to stoop that low to actually put a drug in there that's going to addict you to their food. I mean, what have we come to? It's terrible. Okay, the high fructose corn syrup. Are you ready for what it is in? Okay, it is in ketchup. It is in barbecue sauce. It is in jelly. It is in bread. It's in the juice, in the popsicles. It's in stovetop cornbread stuffing. It's in a variety of things. And there was only one ketchup that I found that did not have high fructose corn syrup. It had just sugar in it. As bad as sugar is, it's still not as bad as high fructose corn syrup. And so one ketchup that I found, it said natural on the front and it had sugar instead. The jelly, almost all of them will say high fructose corn syrup or just corn syrup. And there's a few that will just say sugar. They're usually on the top shelf where you don't normally look out of your eyesight. And some of them will actually be so natural as to say that it's just flavored with natural fruit juice. That's the flavor, the sweetener is fruit juice, and that's your best bet. That's your absolute best bet, and it's usually going to be in a small jar on the top shelf, and it's going to be expensive. You know, that's the nature of it, because you're getting a more quality product. You're not getting that sugar that's going to give you all these diseases that you're going to end up paying for in the long run. Okay, all this heart disease and diabetes, and you're going to pay for it one way or another, and I wouldn't pay for it with my life. It's not just the cash, it's your life, it's your health, it's your well-being. So, then, you know, the juice that's on the shelf, the juices are, first of all, they put sugar and high fructose corn syrup in these juices that are on the shelf, and then, you know, even if it doesn't have that in there, even if it is 100% natural juice with no added sugar in it, these juices have been sitting on the shelf for a long time. They've been pasteurized, which means they've been heated up to high temperature, and there's simply no nutrition. I mean, it's killed any vitamins and minerals or nutrition that could have been there, and it's stale. It's just sitting there. Fruit juices are not something that's really going to be healthy for you, and there's really no nutrition in it, and not to mention the containers that they put them in. I won't even get into all that, the chemicals out of the plastic that leaks into it and all that, but you know, there's just, your best bet from time to time when you want something that other than water to drink is to just juice you some fresh juice when you really want juice. I mean, I'm just letting you know and giving you the information to understand. I don't want people to think that these things, it's really sad when people are so misinformed that they think that this other thing over here is better for them. So they quit doing the thing they're doing, which was probably healthier, and they start doing something else thinking that that's better for them, and it's the opposite. It's worse for them. It's really bad. They would have been better off where they were to begin with. That's what I don't like to see happen. And, you know, or they think something's good for them, so they start eating it, and when it's not, when it's bad. So I just want you to be informed. So, you know, as bad as sugar is, this is the next thing I'm going to talk about is aspartame, because aspartame is a chemical sweetener, and all these sweeteners that you see on this shelf, your Sweet and Low, your Equal, your Splenda, all these are chemical sweeteners. And there's actually a box that says just plain aspartame. You can just get a box of aspartame. These are chemical drugs, and you don't want to be putting this in your body. I mean, as bad as sugar is, the sugar would be better for you. Just the plain raw sugar, I mean, the plain refined sugar would be better for you than these chemical sweeteners. White refined sugar is horrible. We call it white death. I mean, it is bad. But, you know, I would rather, you know, die by white sugar than by a chemical, some chemical sweetener. And for people to think that they're doing better by using this instead of sugar, it's not better for you. And I just can't stand the misinformation, the deception, you know, of these companies at our expense. And so aspartame is in equal, and it's in every chewing gum at the counter. I have a really hard time picking up one of the chewing gums and finding one that does not contain aspartame. They all contain aspartame. There may be one, I'm not sure, but you'll have to look the next time you go. Look and see if you can find one that doesn't say aspartame, or something very similar to that that sounds like that. Most all of them say aspartame. Aspartame is also, it's in your Diet Coke, and Diet Coke is horrible for you, and it's worse than regular Coke. People get fat drinking Diet Coke. They have done an experiment where people went from drinking Diet Coke to drinking regular Coke, and they lost weight. Sugar probably doesn't make you as fat as the aspartame. It's causing all kinds of problems. And all the sodas have loads of sugar and syrup in them. So, those items are out if you want to live a healthy life. I remember reading a book that was called Living Well by Water, and I can't find it anymore. I think it's out of print. But after reading that book, I never drank another soda again. I said, there's no way I can put that in my body. Sodas are full of acid. They clean your toilet bowl really, really well. And I've heard of people putting a tooth in a glass of Coke, and overnight, the next day, it was gone. It was disintegrated. And, think of that. Teeth don't even rot. You dig up a corpse out of the ground, or a dead body and a skeleton, you still see the teeth. Teeth don't even rot or decay. There's eventually they do, but not overnight. My goodness, it's just completely disintegrated. So think of what it's doing to your insides. Taking the enamel off your teeth and everything that's doing to the inside of your body is just horrific. And not only that, any water that is inside your body, it is taking that water out. It causes dehydration. It's pulling water out. Caffeine pulls water out of your body. And you need all the water you can get. If you're not drinking water on top of that, you're pulling all the water you did have out of your cells, out of your body, and you've got a double negative there. It's just, sodas are something you do not want in your life. And you certainly don't want to be giving your kids. So those are the top three: the monosodium glutamate, or MSG, the high-fructose corn syrup, and the aspartame. Those are the top three worst things, in my opinion, that you can put in your body. They're chemical additives that they put in all these products. And also I want to talk about the sugar-free and fat-free. Anything that says fat-free or sugar-free, don't buy it. You do not want that, because if they say fat-free, they've put something else in there that caused it to make up for the fact that it says fat-free. And it's very deceptive, because you can put fat-free on a 5-pound bag of sugar. You could put 0% fat on that, and they would be correct in saying that, because it is not fat, but it turns to fat in your body. It makes you fat. So even though it's correct that it's no fat, it's fat-free, doesn't mean it's not going to make you fat. So, it can really be misleading. A lot of things are very misleading. So in anything that says sugar-free on it, almost 90% of the time, anytime I've looked at it, if it said sugar-free on the ingredient list, it will have aspartame in it. And that's to make up for the sweetness. They've got to add something to it to make it sweet. So if it's not going to be sugar, it's going to be something else. It's going to be a chemical that they've added to it. So don't believe the sugar-free. It would be better just to have the sugar, because it would at least be somewhat natural, even if it had been stripped of all the value in it. Unlike the raw sugar, but it's been stripped down to a white sugar where there's no value, but at least it's not a chemical. We're just branching further and further out, and we think we're doing better because we think it's sugar-free. Don't be misled by sugar-free and fat-free. And sugar itself, white death that I was talking about is so bad, and it is in everything. It is in bread, it's in peanut butter, it's on the sodas that I talked about, it's in dried fruit, it's in canned fruit, and the syrup is in canned fruit. It's in popsicles. I mean, you just really can't get away from, of course, we would expect it to be in a popsicle, I guess, but I mean, fruit juice is very sweet on its own. Frozen fruit juice, there's your popsicle. You know, there's just no reason to add sugar to everything. And I guess they do this because they want to make sales. They're definitely not doing it because they have our best interest at heart. That can't be the reason, because if they know that sugar leads to diabetes and heart disease and obesity, why they put it in everything? You know, we would expect it to be in certain things. We would expect it to be in junk food, popsicles, ice cream, but you're going to put sugar in my peanut butter? I mean, you know, you're going to put sugar in dried fruit and things that you already don't really need it. They just put it in, it's unnecessary. So they put it in everything. Okay, there's a book that you can get. It's called Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. It's where I learned a lot of this from, about the chemical sweeteners. And it's by Kevin Trudeau. You may remember him a while back on TV a lot. He was on those really long, like 2-hour long infomercials, and he would sell vitamins and things like that, or talk about them. And he was inside, he had a lot of insight because he had some inside information on a lot of these things, because he was on government committees and he sat in on a lot of governmental meetings about these food additives. And that's a really good book, Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. If you get that book, I believe it's still out there, and you'll learn a lot about these additives. I think I learned more about what not to eat than the natural cures from this book, so it was a really good book, good information there. I also want to say that you know, the health food stores, not everything in a health food store is healthy, okay? I mean, you know, there's some products in there they try really hard to make look healthy, but, you know, come on. Some of that stuff just is not healthy. I mean, let's just use common sense, you know? So just be aware of that. I want you to know that not everything in a health food store is healthy. You know, sometimes they're just doing the same thing everybody else is doing. You know, I hate to say it, but you know, just it's a natural thing instead of a drug, but then it's just kind of a way to get a quick fix. And you know, it's good to have something that you can use to help you get to the point where you can find a solution. You know, that's what drugs are supposed to be for, and that's what these alternatives should be for, is just something to get you, you know, in some relief until you can find a more permanent solution. But the problem is that never happens. The solutions never come. And we've got to change our lifestyle. It's good to use these things as supplements, or like I said, to try to get some relief when you're getting your act together and trying to get, you know, you know, everything together for living a healthier life. But we use these things as a crutch. So, you know, I just want you to be aware that not everything in there is healthy, you know, especially when it comes to like the food part. You know, there's some really good supplements and things in there, but they do a really good job with those things. But all the food, and you just really have to read all the labels, even in the health food store. Okay, the alternatives, I want to talk a little bit about the alternatives. You have alternatives to, you know, sugar. They're putting sugar in all this stuff, sugar in the bread, and, you know, I mean, why not put honey in it? Why not maple syrup, or coconut sugar, or date sugar, or molasses? These things are sweet, or fruit juice. You know, these things are sweet in and of themselves naturally. I'm guessing number one that they don't do it is because it costs more. And so that's the first reason. And the second reason is because it's not addictive. It's just not addictive. So there's two good reasons right there. Your oils, some of the good alternatives to oil, just because it says vegetable oil, because it came from a vegetable or a plant, does not make it good. This is not something you need to put in your body. It's been hydrogenated, and it's been put through that process. It's had a chemical change, and it's not something that you need to ingest. So you have plenty of alternatives to that. You have olive oil, you have coconut oil, any nut or seed oil, almond oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil. My main two of choice is olive oil and coconut oil. Coconut oil more on the sweet side, and olive oil more on for your cooking. And olives come off of a tree. They have a seed inside of it, and when they make olive oil, they press it down. You want it, cold pressed where it's not heated up and destroying any nutrients in it. And they just are pressing the oil out of the olives, and it is beneficial. It is a good fat. It's healthy. I know even some nutritionists or big health gurus and health proponents would probably even disagree with that, because they say, well, it has a lot of calories and a lot of fat. Yes, it is very high in calories, extremely high in calories, and that's why you don't use a lot of it. But I don't know how you get around cooking or baking without oil. Everything pretty much has oil in it. You just have to use it, wisely and sparingly. And there are a lot of good health benefits to it. Olive oil is, very nutritious. It's a good fat, and yeah, it's always better to eat the olive, but you can't really cook vegetables in an olive. You gotta have some oil. So, and your coconut oil, there's a lot of great health benefits to that as well. These chemical additives, food it can be a drug. When I was in my biology 101 class at college, I took a biology of drugs class, and it was said one thing I remember from it was the definition of a drug, and it said a drug is anything that goes into the body and can cause a change in the body, a chemical change. And I thought, well, food can be a drug then, anything you put in the body, because it put food in the body and it's going to cause something to change. It's going to cause a chemical change in the body, and then I thought, that makes sense, because the Food and Drug Administration. Have you ever wondered why it's called the Food and Drug Administration? What does food have to do with drugs? Well, food can be like a drug. It can alter things. It can change the chemical makeup of your body. And the good part about that is you do have a choice. You have a choice in what you put in your body that does change things. You have control over getting a disease or not. For the most part, at least some control, maybe not all control. I mean, there are outside factors, but for the most part, we have control over. We don't have to be victims to things. At least 80 or 90%, if it comes from our food, and that's a big part of life, then we can control what happens to us. We can control our health. We can control getting sick or being well, and that's an awesome gift. The gift of choice. Now I want to talk about just give you say a cookie recipe, for instance. You got this cookie recipe, and it calls for white flour, which has been stripped of all its nutrition. So instead of white flour, you're going to put wheat flour in. And so you're going to get all that bran and that germ and the endosperm, the starch part, with the gluten. You're going to get all of that. You're going to get the whole wheat. And so you're going to have all that nutrition in there. And then instead of putting an egg in there, there's a lot of substitutes you can use for eggs. You can use a banana, you can use applesauce, you can use flaxseed mixed with water. And at the grocery store they have flaxseed already ground up on the top shelf. It's the brand is Hodgson Mill. And you mix that with water, or you can ground up your own flaxseed that you get from the health food store, or even some of the grocery stores carry flaxseed. You can ground that up and put it in the refrigerator, and that will keep in there pretty well. Not as nutritious, it will lose some nutrition by doing it that way, you know, storing it up, but you could just go ahead and do it right then. Also, before you put it in your mix, your batter, your recipe. But that is another alternative to eggs, and when you put them in pancake batter, it makes the pancakes just great. They come out so buoyant and floppy and bouncy and tasty. So flaxseed is another alternative to eggs. Also, they have an egg replacer that's at the health food store, and there's just a lot of alternatives to that. And it just depends on what you're needing to use it for. Not everything works for every recipe, so you kind of have to learn what's what when it comes to using an alternative, you know, to eggs. But you know, most of the time eggs are not as much for taste; they are for keeping things held together and that consistency and that sort of thing. But there are alternatives. And then instead of putting cow's milk in, you'll just put almond milk in. And instead of putting, you know, the bad vegetable oil, you'll just put either coconut oil or olive oil. And then instead of putting sugar in, you're going to put honey in, or maple syrup. So all you're doing is just replacing parts. That's all you're doing. It's just making it so much more healthy and nutritious. So I want you to be encouraged that there are ways around these processed foods, and it's to make it homemade. And I know that we don't all have time to make everything homemade all the time, but you can make it easier on yourself. And I want to show you in some future videos how you can manage your time and storing things and doing things in bulk where you can, you know, be able to have that on hand and make it easier on yourself, where you're not, you know, cooking all the time. And quickly want to let you know one thing about GMOs, if you're not familiar with them, genetically modified organism. There's two food items that are highly adulterated, which means they're really, I mean, they have completely taken these products and put them in everything and made them very much different from what it used to be. It's no longer that food anymore. And one is corn and one is the soybean. Corn and the soybean are two things that they've just completely adulterated. It's not what it used to be at all. They put it in everything. You got hydrolyzed soy protein. I mean, it's a horrible thing. If you see that on ingredient list, you don't want to put that in your body. Hydrolyzed soy protein. And tofu is basically a soybean, and tofu is a great product to use as a bridge, as a stepping stone to get you out of that transition you from the meat. And you know, it's just like a bridge, though. You know, you don't want to stay on a bridge. Nobody gets on a bridge to stay on the bridge. You get on the bridge so that you can, you know, cross over to the other side. It's to get you from here to there. And I'm glad for bridges, you know, because, you know, otherwise it'd be very hard to just jump from here to there. So tofu is a bridge. It's still a processed product, and a lot of it is genetically modified. There are some that say that it's a non-GMO, but a lot of it is modified. And your corn, a lot of it is genetically modified, and you just have, those are two things you really want to make sure when you buy it, that it says that it's non-GMO, or if you can find that out. But I just wanted you to be informed about that, because a lot of corn products, you know, if you just get the plain corn in the produce section or in the frozen food section, you may have a better chance. But all the stuff out there that's made out of corn is probably genetically modified. And even the produce section, you know, there's no way to really know sometimes if it is or not. They're not yet regulated. They're not regulating everything right now to say whether it is or not. And genetically modified means that they have done something to it at the seed level. So even the seed itself, they're tampering with that, and they're messing with it. And then when you go to plant, if just say you wanted to have a garden and you went to plant, that seed will produce for you one time, and then after that you don't get any more seeds. It won't produce again. You put that seed in the ground and it won't do anything. And I know that sounds fishy. It sounds like somebody's trying to control the food supply. Why can't I, take a seed of something and go grow it in my backyard and get more than one time, and not be able to get it from that second food that comes up? And there are some seeds still out there. Try to get them while you can. They're called heirloom, and those are the ones that have not been genetically modified. But yeah, it's getting pretty scary. It really is. And really want to try to start storing up some seeds, so that you can plant some things. And food supply just seems like, a lot of times it's getting really short, and I go in there and there's, I can't find what I need, and not to mention that the prices are really high, and it gets a little disconcerting at times. You really get a little bit concerned. And so yeah, the genetically modified products, that's something I want you to be aware of. And the last thing I want to talk about is meal planning, and I'm not going to go into details right here, but just to let you know, when we go into the store and we pick up a product that's processed, a box, let's just say hamburger helper, it's got like maybe some noodles that of course are white noodles that have been stripped of all their nutrition. They're not whole wheat pasta. They're white noodles. It'll have a meat that you're supposed to put with it, and then it'll have a sauce. Okay, so essentially what they've done for you is they've just given you an idea. They've given you the idea of what to fix, and you didn't really have to think about it. You just grabbed it, oh, that looks good, and put it in your buggy. And you didn't have to go gather the stuff out of different parts. It was already there. And so really, one of the main reasons that we eat these processed foods is mostly for the convenience of it. Not to mention the taste with all the additives and chemicals that make it so addictive. But a main reason why we do it is because of the convenience of it. And so this is where meal planning comes in. You could basically take that same box and you could go and get your whole wheat pasta, and you could go over to the produce section and you could get some vegetables to put in there, like some zucchini or mushroom or eggplant, whatever kind of vegetable you like, squash. And you could put that in there, and then you could make your own sauce. It doesn't take that long. Put some oil and flour and spices together in the blender and whip that up and pour that, heat it up and put it over the noodles and the veggies. And you've got essentially that same idea, but in a very nutritious form. And so a lot of it just comes down to meal planning. I take about an hour one night a week before my week begins. I sit down that one night and take about an hour and go through and plan out what we're going to have during the week. And sometimes I get input from the other family members and see what they have to say about, what should we eat this week. And it's it doesn't really take that long. It's just something that needs to be done because it really keeps you from falling off the wagon. That's where I know when I start sacrificing quality is because we get hungry and you grab something. We're not perfect. No family's perfect, and you do fall off the wagon sometimes. And it's like, oh, if I had have planned this out a little bit better, this wouldn't have happened. The times when I start seeing that I sacrifice quality, it's not because I'm tempted by those foods. I'm not tempted by them anymore. I really don't have a problem with that. I really, I get the nutrition I need from what I'm eating, and sometimes I'll even eat something that I don't really want because I didn't prepare. And when I get through eating that, it wasn't even, you know, what I really wanted. It didn't satisfy me like what I'm normally used to eating now these days. And so usually when I see myself sacrificing the quality is when I either didn't allow enough in the budget for the money for the food, or I didn't allow enough time in my planning to plan it out. But once I have it planned out and I have all that food in the house for every day of the week, it's there, it's ready to go. And you know, this doesn't take away, this meal planning does not in any way take away from spontaneity. You can still be spontaneous. I rarely ever eat what I have for that day. I mean, a lot of times I switch it up. I'll do, you know, what I was going to do on Wednesday, I'll do Monday. You know, because, you know, when you sit down and make a meal plan, how do you know what you're going to want to eat next Friday? I mean, that's like 5 days away, 6 days away. How do you know what you're going to be in the mood for? Well, that's fine. You can always switch it around during the week, but you pretty much commit to those 7 meals because you've already bought it and got it in the house and everything's there. So you pretty much do commit to those 7 meals, but you can switch those around any way that you choose, and you could go completely off the charts. I mean, you could go do something else, but the whole point is that you have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're going to just fall off the wagon. And, you know, it's more like a meal plan is more like a safety net. It is to allow you to be able to, you know, if you don't have a plan, you know, if you don't have a plan, you're just going to fall off. But if you have a plan, you'll have something to catch you if you didn't have another idea. So it's just great to, you know, planning is everything. It is really everything. And you know, these foods, they're addictive, they're seductive, you know, they're like the wayward woman or the wayward man, you know, the wayward wife, the wayward husband. They draw you in and they lure you in and they tempt you, and then you're like, you know, you get pleasure for a little while in your mouth, it's all pleasurable, and then later you have all the problems to deal with. You know, a little bit of pleasure for the taste buds, and then, you know, then you got all these problems later down the road, and that's heart disease and all these other problems that can come out of that. And so don't sacrifice a little bit of pleasure, what you think is pleasurable, you know, and I know they are, I know they're addictive, I know that it's like MSG, it's an excitotoxin, it's a flavor enhancer, it is exciting the taste buds and giving them a fireworks going off in your mouth. It's just so good, you know, that it gets addictive, and it's a drug and it's a chemical, and then you get to the point where, you know, you're hooked. And but there is a way out. There's a way out. There's a way of escape. And this is the first step, is just getting the information. And so I want to encourage you with that. You know, when they used to do cigarettes with nicotine, they used to think that nicotine was good for you. It was okay. And they even have footage of black and white advertisements with doctors, you know, smoking their cigarettes, you know, oh, Dr. So-and-so, he smokes Camel, and, you know, this is his favorite brand, and here he is in this doctor, you know, white coat, and he's in his doctor's office talking about how great this tobacco is, you know, what his favorite brand is. I mean, back then, they thought that it was okay, and it was, you know, good for you, and now they know that, you know, nicotine is deadly. It causes cancer. People die from it. It is addictive. Well, see, it's the same thing with these foods. They are addictive. People die from it, and we've got to start taking more responsibility for ourselves. We're the only ones to blame. We can't blame the food companies. We're the ones that make those choices. Yes, they make it easy for us, and they put it right in front of us. You know, so they do have responsibility, but ultimately it is our choice. And we've got to get smarter, and we've got to get informed. And 2 videos I want to give you that you can watch that I really like, that pertains to all this, all these chemicals and additives. One is called Hungry for Change, and one is called Food Matters. And I mentioned both of these on my other videos, but these, you can Netflix these. They're on Netflix, and I really, really encourage you to go watch those. You'll watch them more than once because they're loaded with information, and really will get you motivated and keep you motivated to do the right thing, because information is exciting. One guy said on one of those videos, I really like what he said, one of the nutritionists on there, he said, this is not food that they're selling us. These are food-like products. And that's what they are. They're just food-like products because they've stripped it of everything that had any nutrition in it. And they've changed it by a chemical process into something that it's no longer, that it's not that same product anymore. Now you can survive on that. Yeah, I mean, it's food to the point there's some nutrition you can actually survive on. It's not exactly like eating cardboard, although I think some of it is definitely like eating cardboard, some of the cereals out there, but it's been through so much, heated, cooled, dried, moistened, stored, it's just been through so much. It's just not almost, some of it doesn't even resemble food anymore. And so, in order to, because they stripped it of all the nutrition, in order to keep it, on the shelf, we put all these chemicals in it to preserve it. We put preservatives in it. And then, we put all these flavor enhancers like MSG in it because we want to try to make it still seem like it, still make it taste good. And then we're going to put all these colors and colors and dyes in it to make it still look like it's good. And but we're really just trying to get by, really just kidding ourselves, and really, we just need to learn to shift our values. That's the real point of it. We put a lot of value in a lot of things, but we don't put value in this thing, in this body. And this body we were given is an incredible thing. It is a gift, and when we don't take care of it, we don't appreciate it at all. We would rather go spend our money on our cars and our houses and our vacations than on our body that we walk around in. This is what carries us through life. And so that we can be here for our children and our children's children, and to watch them grow up and to teach them things, to be here to love them, to be able to teach others and help other people get out of that that destructive way of life, and to bring them into a healthier life, a well life, a life not full of drugs and surgery and things of that nature, a life where they have vitality and energy. And so we just need to start valuing our health and our time that we devote and our money that we devote to our health, instead of just waiting for when something goes wrong, going and running to the insurance company to pay the doctor bill. I mean, that's the reactive thing to do. That's not the proactive thing to do. We need to be proactive. We need to be preventative. And there is no system that I see in place for preventative medicine. It's all after the fact. And it's always wait until you're dying to do something. And that is, I guess, what we default to as human beings. That's our nature, to not do anything until we absolutely have to. But I want you to look at it differently. I want you to think about it in terms of preventing and being proactive, because even though you might not feel like you're dying today, you keep putting all that bad stuff in, one day your body's going to say enough is enough, and you're going to find yourself in a bad situation. So take care of your body and it will take care of you. And when if you put good stuff in like all the time, then every now and then when you put something bad in, it's not going to hurt. The body can take care of it. It's not going to hurt you. In the same way, if you put bad stuff in all the time and you put good stuff in just once, that's not going to help you either. So it works the same way. If you put bad stuff in all the time, you put something good in, doesn't help you. And if you put good stuff in all the time and then you put something bad in, it's not going to hurt you that one time. So, you know, every now and then you can, you know, go have something special that you want, you know, but you're probably going to find that it doesn't actually even do for you what it used to do, because now your body is so used to these good things that you've been putting in it. And anyway, I want to let you know where you can reach me. You can reach me on my blog is destiny-dawn, DAWN.blogspot.com, and also I'm on Facebook. My email address is rightouchdetail@bellsouth.net, rightouchdetail@bellsouth.net, and also you can search for me right here on YouTube, Destiny Harris, and also subscribe by clicking the button, and that way I'll be able to keep putting more videos out for you. I do a new video every week because I want you to give you time to absorb the information and go out there and experience these things. And next time you're in a grocery store, go and look and see, you know, look at those ingredient lists and make mental notes, you know, see what you are actually putting in your body, and go do your own research. Google these things, you know, and just start learning to make better choices. It all begins with information. I know it seems overwhelming. I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I want you to be informed. And as always, be patient with yourself. And have a very blessed day. And of the product, the whole wheat. There